Good afternoon, friends. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the Honorable Minister of Communication and Information Technology, Shri Kapil Sibal, for the second session of the Economic Editors Conference. I'd also like to welcome Secretary, Department of Telecom, Shri R. Chandrasekhar, Secretary, Department of Electronics and IT, Shri J. Satyanarayan, and Member Operations, Department of Post, Shri S. Sarkar, and other senior officers of the ministry. The Economic Editors Conference is organized every year by the Press Information Bureau to provide a platform for interaction between the media and the government. In particular, it's an opportunity for interaction with the regional media. So we have over 30 senior writers from all over the country who are present here today, apart from the local media. The conference was inaugurated this morning by the Honorable Finance Minister. We have another session.
Everybody. The UPA government, as you know, believes that rapid and broad-based economic growth is essential. In fact, is an essential condition for inclusive development. Since 2004-05, our economy has enjoyed an unprecedented growth rate of around 8.5%, despite the severe global crises that have impacted the global economy. Yet, despite the crises, we are committed to deliver our promise to the people of India. And we wish to move rapidly into the ranks of the middle-income countries, free of the burden of poverty, ignorance, and disease that has held us back for too long. At the heart of economic growth is the ability of nations and people to innovate. We have, in the path of economic growth, missed some revolutions. But I believe that in the 21st century, if there is one revolution that will change the way India thinks, change the way India works, and change the way India interacts with each other, is the communications revolution. Just as physical infrastructure is exceptionally important for the movement of goods, the virtual infrastructure through the communications network is equally important, for the simple reason that distance and time in fact get narrowed, and instant communication is a great source of empowerment. It is with this in mind that the UPA government has been emphasizing the importance of telecommunications and information technology as an essential factor in the growth story of India. India has demonstrated enormous strides in telecom. And I don't think there is any other country in the world where the tariffs for ordinary people are as low as they are in India. And the penetration of telephony in India is moving forward at enormous stride. We have almost 1 billion mobile phones in India. Almost 1 billion mobile phones in India. And yet we believe that much more needs to be done. We believe that apart from wireless, broadband wireless connectivity, we need to lay the fiber optic network in this country, because that will be the backbone for the communications revolution, which in turn will be essential for the fast-paced economic growth that we are looking at. We intend to lay the fiber optic network in this country, connect 250,000 gram panchayats, hopefully by December 2013. The last mile connectivity then can be done through wireless broadband. This will allow data to flow at enormous speeds. Data which will be used for education, data which will be used for medicine, e-medicine, e-education, e-commerce, G2C, data that will provide public services, data that will provide information to the Aam Aadmi, to the Kisan, the agriculturalist, to the trader, to the panchayat, and that in turn will help empower people. With that backbone laid, we believe that public services can be delivered much quicker than in the past, and indeed one of the ways to deal with corruption is to ensure that public services are delivered through the fiber optic network. You want to get a passport, you can apply online, have the passport delivered to you. After your application is analyzed online, and then have it delivered through the post office, network of the post office, which is also part of the Department of Posts, which also is now being electronically, that architecture of electronic delivery system is being created. There is a legislation that is going to be brought to the cabinet very soon on the public services delivery bill, in terms of which we will request each state government to tell us areas in which public services can be delivered electronically. And whichever areas are identified by that particular state government, the commitment should be that those will be electronically delivered in a maximum period of 5 years. Payment of your electricity bills, payment of your water charges, data about revenue records, data about agriculture, data with reference to urban agglomerations. All that can be delivered to you, or will be delivered to you electronically by virtue of that legislation. Of course, this is voluntary. We would want those state governments to tell us in which services they would like delivery to take place within that period of time. So if these public services are delivered electronically, a lot of the harassment that has been faced by the Aam Aadmi will vanish, and it will be exceptionally empowering. If supposing a bank transaction by somebody living in a village can be conducted electronically through the mobile phone, and bank balances can be checked and deposits and withdrawals can be made with the appropriate ATM machines located in those areas, you can imagine the enormous empowerment that is likely to happen in that process. This is the vision of this government, and it is not something that is at the stage of a drawing board on the table for a plan to be executed. It is being executed. That's what's important. As you are aware, since 2010, when I took over this, I was asked to take care of this ministry. We decided that it is time for us to delineate the contours for the next 20 years of policy which deal with telecommunications, with information technology, with electronic systems and design manufacturing. And we have brought before you two of the policies already. That is the telecom policy as well as the IT policy. The electronics systems and design manufacture, almost all the elements of that policy are also complete, barring one. For that, we are probably going to the cabinet. We are going to the cabinet. It will probably come up in the next 2 weeks. So when that element is complete, our electronic systems, designs, manufacturing policy will also be for the next 20 years before you. What is our objective? Our objective is the following. We believe that unless we are able to encourage manufacturing activity in India of electronic products, the extent of import required by 2020 will be to the order of 300 billion, because the demand at that time would be 400 billion. We believe that 100 billion is likely to be manufactured in India, and if there is no change of policy, we will have to import $300 billion worth of electronic products. This is more than the import of crude oil in India. Naturally, no economy can sustain these kind of costs. Therefore, it is with this in mind that we have put in place the electronic systems design manufacture, in which we have set out electronic clusters which are to be built, policies in terms of which that all manufacturing activity in India in electronic goods should have a value addition of 65%. 80% of that product must be manufactured in India by 2020. So that this in turn will give an impetus to employment. Ultimately, no country can achieve prosperity unless it generates employment. The UPA is committed to generate employment for the Aam Aadmi. This requires, therefore, emphasizing and empowering domestic manufacturing activity. And our policy caters towards that. For example, the mobile phone. At the moment, a very small percentage of the mobile phone is manufactured in India in terms of value. Now, we believe that in the next 10 years or so, 80% of that must be manufactured here. And the essential element of that is the chip. 30% of the value of the mobile phone is the chip. We are now in the process of setting up a fab in India so that chips can be made in India. And we would like to amalgamate the enormous strength of software in India with hardware. So once we have our software design capacities and abilities, which are next to none in the world, we are perhaps foremost in the world in software design. Once we use that power with a chip which is manufactured in India, we can be leaders in the world of chips which will go into every product. We can develop, and that in turn will generate enormous employment, enormous skill development, our ability to manufacture at home and not import, therefore reduce the costs of import, and at the same time give us an opportunity to manufacture products that we can export at a far better competitive price than others manufacturing these products in Europe and in the Western world. So this is a holistic vision that we have which impacts the sector and which will in fact contribute enormously to economic growth in India. As you know, on the telecom side, I have already announced the policy, National Telecom Policy of 2012, the essential elements of which are full mobile number portability. I have already said that you will have one nation, free roaming. That will happen in 2013. We will have 100% rural teledensity by 2020. And from the numbers that I know of, the people using broadband by 2020 would be, we think, 600 million at least, but that figure probably will be reached by 2017 or so, because the way in which broadband activity is increasing gives us the belief that this can happen much quicker. Increase in use of broadband has secondary and tertiary positive impacts on empowerment, on growth, and on many other things. On-demand broadband of at least 100 Mbps. This is also part of our policy. One license across services and service areas. We're already implementing it. Now the new auction that is going to take place, those who win in the auction will be given a unified license. Technology neutral. You can use any technology with that unified license. This will be liberalized spectrum. Sharing will be allowed with liberalized spectrum. Mergers will be allowed. The market share can be much more than it was before. You can hold up to 25% of the market share plus more, as long as other authorities clear you for antitrust activities, anti-competitive measures. So you can actually have more than 50% of the market. The amount of spectrum that you can hold is also enormous. Now, those limitations have gone. So, in other words, there will be far greater efficiency and productivity in the delivery of services as we move forward. What we want to do is to reposition the mobile phone as an instrument of empowerment. The Akash, which now I have delivered to all my cabinet colleagues, is something that is at the heart of this strategy. The Akash is going to be an instrument of empowerment as well. The latest version of Akash 2 has a 1 gigahertz processor, a 4-hour battery lifeline, capacitive screen, Android 4, I believe.
Android 4.
Android 4. All this is part of the Akash. And hopefully on the 11th of November, you will see the President talking to 20,000 students across the nation who will in their hands have the Akash. The Akash will be an instrument through which children can go to school without carrying their textbooks. Children will have access to the internet through the Akash. And hopefully, as we bring down the price of the Akash by setting up manufacturing activities in India, it will come down to $35, which is 1,500 rupees, being the cost price. These are the enormous strides that we are taking. We're also looking at safety of individuals in the context of electromagnetic radiation, and we have recently taken very decisive steps to reduce levels of electromagnetic radiation both in mobile phones as well as towers. And that, of course, has now been welcomed by the industry as well. By encouraging manufacturing activity in the electronics manufacturing sector, we will have created by 2020 28 million jobs. 28 million jobs. There will be a turnover of around 55 billion in chip design and embedded software. That will be the turnover of the industry as we calculate it. And we will be setting up 200 manufacturing hubs, electronics manufacturing hubs. And we will be producing per annum 2,500 PhDs. We are working with educational institutions, with research institutions to take this vision forward. We also have a GIS mission, which we're going to take forward. That is part of the e-governance. National GIS should be part of e-governance. We're working with various ministries to be able to do that. So lots of steps that we are taking in this regard. We want to, of course, make our postal department exceptionally modern. As you know, that people stop writing letters. So the post office needs to change and make a paradigm shift into new areas of services. So we are trying to, all post offices should be electronically empowered so that all systems, if you have a parcel which is to go from one place to another, and we have that facility even today, then you can track the parcel, where it is, where it's going, when will it reach. I just opened a sorting center where all mails are automatically sorted. So you can get your delivery systems will be much quicker. All these are processes which will generate efficiency. You will be able to sell your wares by making the post office as a central place where in any rural area, if you want to sell your wares, the post office will give you a platform through which others can access those wares and actually buy them. So lots of things are happening across the board, but the reason why I emphasize the virtual world and data flow through the virtual world and empowerment through the virtual world, because this brings in an element of efficiency which the physical world cannot provide to people. What will take days will take a few seconds. And the Human Resource Development Ministry is working very closely with the Communications and Information Technology Ministry. And we're trying to build human resource in many of these sectors. Of course, we have to be exceptionally careful because we are very serious issues about cyber security. And so we need also to build a workforce to take care of cyber security. So that element is also being taken care of. This, in a nutshell, is what we've been doing. And we believe that all these efforts will exponentially increase economic growth in our country. And this is the only way to reach double-digit growth. And we hope that in the years to come, that will happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The floor is now open for questions. I will first invite questions from our delegates from outstation, please. Yes.
Sir, I am Sushil Chaudhary from Dainik Tripura. Regarding the communication regulation, in not only in Tripura, particularly in the northeast, so cyber maximum time this broadband remained out of order.
Yes.
And particularly in my state, twice in a week, government remains completely out of order. Whenever we ask them, they say that the main line from Bangalore, so on the way somewhere is doing or something like that. And it is happening for the last few years, at least 1 2 years. Second thing is that
one at a time. As far as this is concerned, we are aware of this issue. We've taken it very seriously. I've taken up the matter with the BSNL, and BSNL now making special efforts. In fact, we're laying down a fresh line, I believe.
infrastructure being laid.
There's special optical fiber infrastructure being laid in the northeast just to address
the USOF fund has two schemes now.
The Secretary will give you the details.
See, as far as the northeast are concerned, these problems are being addressed through a slew of initiatives. One is that the optical fiber infrastructure is being supplemented under certain special schemes which the USOF is doing. In addition to that, that of course is meant to cover the optical fiber and make reliable infrastructure right up to the block level. Then under the National Optical Fiber Network, the optical fiber is also going to be extended. This is over the next 1 to 1.5 years, right down up to the panchayat level. The third thing is that a lot of this infrastructure is also using devices which either require no power or very limited amount of power, so that outage on account of power not being there also will be eliminated.
Regarding land phone, 60%
one at a time.
remains out of order.
One at a time. You have already asked one question, let others ask.
We'll come back. Yes, please. You had a question? Yes.
So I'm Kapil Sibal from DD News. So my question is, when it comes to cyber terrorism and cyber security, we don't have any official policy. We are caught off guard suddenly, as we saw in the case when incident happened in Bangalore.
Well, these are issues that we need to address. I think lots of countries have been caught off guard. Globally also, we need to address this issue collectively, as you know. There are conferences that are going to be held in Baku and in Dubai, which will address issues of security in the context of what you're talking.
Security is in final stages of obligations. Cyber security.
I know states do have obligations, but the net is such a medium that it is very difficult to address this issue contemporaneously with the problem that it causes when images go out. So these are issues that we have to deal with. On the security front, of course, we need to make sure that our systems are secure, and that will require a lot of technology input. I think our ministry is working on that, and the Secretary will talk about it.
Yeah, the draft cyber security policy, after a lot of consultation with industry, it is at an advanced stage, and very shortly we intend issuing the comprehensive security policy, cyberspace.
Yes, please. You had a question?
So, speaking of a national open fiber network, while commending your vision and commitment, how much work has actually progressed? For instance, in Uttar Pradesh, which is a huge populous state.
Well, I will tell you this. One of the problems that we have in implementing this is that the states concerned must give us right to way to put the fiber optic network in place. Luckily, several states are coming forward. Uttar Pradesh is one such state where Chief Minister has already told us that they will not charge anything for the right to way. Some states are saying we should charge, but I think all states are coming around as and when. So the work is progressing. Wherever the right of way is being granted, the work is progressing. Yeah. And at the end of the month, I have a program where I'll be signing with a lot of states agreements for the purposes of laying the fiber optic network. But we intend to finish that by 2013.
Yes, please.
Sir, I'm Ramesh Sharma from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. My question is, the issue down BSNL is consecutively suffering from financial losses since 2 years. So I hope the credit goes to the overstaff and employee cost, which is more than 52%. What the government has planned for BSNL, is there any kind of bailout or VRS to the overflooded staff?
We have a strategy, and we have been actually trying to work on that strategy. It's okay. We're trying to work on that strategy.
So will it be some kind of bailout or VRS?
It's all right, I'll deal with it. We are working on that strategy, and there are some steps that have already been taken. There is a legacy issue. We just can't throw it out. These issues are human issues. We need to address them. So I think there will be eventually a turnaround. We will be putting up a scheme, hopefully, which people will accept. So let's see how it works. But yes, it's a matter of concern, and we would want BSNL to be turned around and become a profitable venture.
Sir, I am Dr. Abraham. I have not a question but a concern when you said about the Akash. You said the Akash will replace the textbooks and
No, not replace.
the
textbooks.
And the children can go only with
The
tablet and only a mouse.
No, the
What
text.
do you think that at a higher level or when you overdo it, it will replace our art of reading and writing? The usual
textbooks,
practiced for
textbooks will be read.
for the 2000 years.
Sir, the textbook hopefully will be read if they are in the Akash. As it is, people have, what do we do today nowadays? Have you seen anybody type nowadays on that typewriter?
You are replacing the printed material.
No, we are not replacing anything.
Paper you are replacing.
We are moving along with the world, and hopefully your children will move ahead of you.
I congratulate you. As last time I said the postal services are not to the mark, but now in Chhattisgarh, after that I saw that it is working very nicely. But the UGC is not to your mark. They issue any order at any time at random without looking to the facts, whereas what is happening, what is the position in that area. So I would request you to please look into that affair also.
Okay. Advice well taken.
So, you're a wonderful minister. Your no loss, no gain theory put to rest the controversies angled to communication ministry. Then your observation on judicial bodies telling them not to go beyond the limit.
Don't put it so harshly. Don't put it so harshly.
These are quite unlikely. But my question is, why don't you think of starting IT park in the small state like ours?
I think yes, we should have IT parks. We have a policy to set up IT parks. The Secretary will talk about it. I don't know whether specifically Manipur is part of it or not. I'm not aware of that, but the Secretary will respond.
As part of the ICT policy recently approved by the Cabinet about 10 days back, one of the components is to move IT development to the tier 2 cities and towns. So we have identified about 50 such towns, and then the policy will promote and incentivize migration of companies to those areas, as also starting up new companies in the tier 2 area. I presume in the Northeast also, I don't exactly remember the names, but there are towns in the Northeast as well.
So you will consider?
No, he'll say he doesn't know whether there are.
I don't have the list readily with me. I will
but we will see. We will see.
Manipur.
Yes, Mr. Vishwanath.
Mr. Sibal, permit me to comment also on one or two points you made.
Sure.
You mentioned about expanding the hardware quantum, which is very welcome, which is long overdue. But even look at the software area, more than 90% of the software income comes from export, whether you take TCS or Infosys. There are many areas which are in crying need for IT application which are not simply attended to. Say, for instance, you have recently issued issuance of passports. You've done a dramatic turnaround in this by taking recourse to IT. Look at one more area where you can do wonders. For example, insurance of motor vehicles. For the new vehicles, there is compulsory third-party insurance. But after 1 year, it just expires. A rough survey said 60 to 70% of motor vehicles do not have even third-party insurance. And more than 50% of cars, four-wheelers, even on trucks, do not have third-party insurance. Forget about owner insurance. It is third-party insurance which is mandatory. You can easily attend to it on a time-bound plan by taking recourse to IT. One more area of concern to you, you are an outstanding lawyer, and look at the total absence of IT in judiciary. There are 60 cases are listed in a day, 2 cases are taken, and 58 are adjourned. There is absolutely no system, method or madness there. Can't you have some IT introduced in judiciary?
Okay, let me just respond to some of these issues. See, there are some issues that the central government can deal with. Take, for example, railways. There was a time that it was a problem getting a ticket for a rail journey.
Sir, that's a 20-year story, sir. What have you done subsequently?
Sir, if you will allow me to answer, I'll, if I'm...
Even freight you have not still...
if you will allow...
Sorry, I'm sorry for it.
No. Please allow me to answer. I appreciate your comment. Say, take railways. It's a central subject. We have introduced IT in railways. It's working very well. Take aviation. Central subject. We've used IT in aviation. Work exceptionally well. No problems. Take corporate affairs. Central subject. All returns are now electronic, right? So you will find that wherever the center has jurisdiction, it has moved towards electronically provided services, and we have delivered for the people of India. Now you talked about transportation. Now transportation is not a subject for the union. It is the state governments that have to deal with it. We cannot impose on state governments any policy, which is why the electronic service delivery bill, most services are provided by state governments. You will notice that wherever a service provided by the central government, Government of India has delivered for the people of India. But wherever states are to provide those services, that delivery has not taken place. The whole purpose of the electronic service delivery bill and the fiber optic network and the broadband connectivity and the Akash is to use this for the state governments to deliver services which the states are obliged to should deliver. So your comments are well taken, but those comments must be directed towards state governments under whose jurisdiction these delivery systems must take place electronically. That's the answer, sir, to your question. See, again, judiciary is an empire by itself. And under the Constitution, you know that we cannot take decisions on behalf of the judiciary. In fact, there was a point in time when I was Minister for Science and Technology that I proposed certain very significant processes in the IT, on the IT front, that for the judiciary to use. But unfortunately, we did not get the kind of support and collaboration that we wanted. So that's a thing you should address to the judiciary, to those who administratively take those decisions at the highest level in the judiciary. But I can assure you this much, as far as Union of India is concerned, we are not leaving any stone unturned as far as public delivery of public services is concerned, which is entirely within the domain of the government of India.
Insurance comes under
no. Insurance again does come in the center, but the service delivery mechanism has to be provided in the state governments, as you know. Yes, you can't reach. So this is a problem. So in any case, we are trying to address that problem by working with the states.
Yes, Kumarti.
Sir, just finished the most crucial EGOM. I know that you are going to take it to the cabinet. But what were the reasons because of which you have completely overruled the AG's opinion, which had said that there should not be any prospective charges?
You know something more than I do.
And also, could you give us an idea as to whether beyond 4.4, if the decision has been taken, is it 2.5 for CDMA?
I am not prepared to say a word because we have addressed every issue that was before the empowered group of ministers. We have taken tentative decisions. All this is subject to the cabinet. We are trying and we are hoping that the cabinet can meet on the 16th, well before the 19th. Because we need all players who are participating in the auction to know where they stand so that they can decide how and in what manner they can participate. It would not be fair for me at this point, before the cabinet approves what we have decided tentatively, to say as to what we have decided. So whatever you know.
Just a moment, please, sir. No, please, I cannot allow it like this, one by one, please.
We have Mr. Salman Khurshid on record to say that there is only going to be a prospective charge and no retrospective.
Mr. Khurshid is entitled to say what he wants to say. My position is very clear. Whatever decisions we have taken are subject to cabinet approval. I will not comment on any decisions that we have taken till the cabinet approves.
Yes,
just to understand the rationale, because of thinking of it, why did you ignore the AG's advice?
I don't know, you know better. I don't know whether we have ignored the AG's advice or not.
And what was the basis of starting it from prospectively from October, not July?
I do not.
Because all the other companies had been told very specifically after a meeting with the Prime Minister, the then Finance Minister, the then Telecom Minister, that, you know, that would be the basis.
We will address all these issues in the Cabinet as and when the matter comes up to the Cabinet. As to what has been decided, what are the thought processes that went into it, what has not been decided. What has been decided you are not aware of, right? What has been decided I am not going to tell you.
So don't go into the details.
So it's very clear, all this will be taken up by the Cabinet. Whatever doubts you have, you will realize that we will give a reasoned speaking order. This EGOM will give a reasoned speaking order on all the decisions that we have taken.
So
that the questions that you have asked, if at all required to be answered, will be answered by that reasoned order.
Which will be fair and transparent.
Which will be transparent, and that reasoned order hopefully will be part of the Cabinet note.
And explain why revenue maximization.
That is, you can guess whatever you want to guess. I am not going to respond to any of that.
Sir, one question, sir. Just don't go into the details what decision had been made, but telcos will have to pay more than 30,000 crore. Do you think this will impact the tariff?
I don't know. You know the number better than I do.
Do you think this will impact the tariff, sir?
Sir, you know the numbers better than I do. I'm not going to comment on any of this.
Okay, let's move on to the other subject, please. Another subject. Yes, please.
कमल किशोर, 9 बिहार टाइम्स, औरंगाबाद बिहार से। जो बिहार का नक्सल प्रभावित इलाका है आपका गया और औरंगाबाद, वहाँ बीएसएनएल के मतलब लैंडलाइन और मोबाइल की स्थिति काफी खराब है पिछले 1.5-2 वर्षों से। इससे विभाग को राजस्व की क्षति तो हो ही रही है, लोगों को भी काफी परेशानी हो रही है। इसके अलावा जो नक्सल प्रभावित इलाकों में नक्सलियों द्वारा जो मोबाइल टावर उड़ा दिए गए थे बीएसएनएल के, वहाँ अभी तक मोबाइल टावर पुनः बहाल नहीं किए गए हैं, जिससे संचार व्यवस्था चालू। क्या सरकार इरादा रखती है वहाँ पुनः मोबाइल टावर?
बिल्कुल इरादा रखती है, और हम प्रयास करेंगे कि जल्द से जल्द उस इरादे को आगे लिया जाए, और जो भी मुश्किलें जो भी लोग इन मुश्किलों का सामना कर रहे हैं उनको कुछ राहत मिले। हम भी मानते हैं कि इस जगह में जिस तरह से संचार की फैसिलिटी होनी चाहिए नहीं है।
Sir, I am Vaibhav Kothari from Nafa Nuksan, Jaipur. In Rajasthan, there has been a major issue regarding these telecom towers, that from the radiation, some diseases like cancer and these are caused. So, anything on the ministry level that...
We have taken very strong decisions on it, as you know. We have reduced the levels of radiation to 1/10. As far as the mobile phones are concerned. And we've also reduced levels. Towers are concerned as far as to 1/10, and as far as mobile phones are concerned, we have now given a limit which perhaps is almost the lowest in the world, apart from 2-3 countries. So we have really taken a very decisive position on it.
Can I make a suggestion on this, sir? Some years back, you have been a Minister for Science and Technology. We're going to have less towers having a wider reach. Any research going on there?
Well, I don't know, the technology will determine that. As far as we are concerned, we believe that the problem is the following. I mean, I think that it needs a bit of explanation. When you have a tower, the electromagnetic radiation moves parallel to the tower. So if you are underneath, there is no problem, because it moves parallel to the tower. But if you put the tower in a 2-storied house, and across 10 meters away, there is another house, and the tower is sending that radiation, then it is dangerous. So we are now told companies that they must remove those towers, right? And that work has already started, and we are going to be very stringent on that.
Yes, in fact, teams have already
gone to inspect. Yes.
Mr. Sibal, a few weeks ago you said that, in the years ahead, you vision that voice calls should be made free. So I just wanted to know, has the government initiated the process of...
No. See, I made this statement on the ground that once we have the fiber optic network in place, and the speeds are in place, and the bandwidth is in place, and efficiency systems and power and everything is in place, then all revenues should really be earned from data. All revenues should really be earned from data, and that will happen hopefully 5-7 years from now. It's at that point in time, because talking to each other should not be taxed. Philosophically, I believe that if I want to talk to you, I should not have to pay a charge. Because communication between two human beings is a fundamental right. Right? And I should not be taxed for it. But that's my vision for the future. It's not going to happen today, and there is no ministry which has started any process of thinking in those terms. But this must be done, and eventually this will be done. I am, for example, Akash version 3 will have a SIM card, so you can actually do Skype on it.
Yes, please.
Sir, Supreme Court has recently said in its judgment on presidential reference that revenue maximization cannot be the sole objective when it comes to public good. So, are you seeing spectrum as a source for public good or for commercial exploitation?
No, all natural resources are ultimately a source of public good. All natural resources. Take iron ore, it's a source of public good. Take coal, it's a source of public good because it produces electricity. Take airwaves, it's a source of public. All natural resources ultimately are used for public good. In fact, the whole purpose of society is public good. The leitmotif of any government has to be public good. And the only way you can deliver public good is by optimally using the resources. Now, the question is in implementation of that public good. If you implement the public good in such a way that it is a benefaction for A, B, and C with a motive to benefit him, it must be struck down. No court should tolerate public good as a camouflage for private good. But if the eventual objective is public good and there is a transparent policy in place for the delivery of that public good, and public good ultimately will be delivered by the private sector. It cannot be delivered by the public sector alone. Right? For example, take education. If you want to build a school, governments are not going to build schools and universities in this country because governments don't have the funds and the resources to build schools and universities. Government infrastructure of schools will be there. But when the private sector builds schools, right, the methodology of allocation has to be based on a policy. If you say, I give it to you for you to do whatever you like with it, it will be struck down. But if there's a policy framework under which an allocation is made, that's for public good.
Can we see price of the spectrum coming down for public good? Because
Don't start asking leading questions. You asked me a general question, I have responded to you. What we do with spectrum, you will find in years to come.
Yes, please.
Sir, recently Deepak Parekh committee report came out with a recommendation saying 100% FDI in telecom. So what's your view on that?
We have not taken a view.
Yes, please.
And we haven't even received the report formally.
During the stage of consultation, DOT had expressed its resistance.
As I said, we haven't received the report. As and when we receive the report, we will deal with it. We don't have a view at the moment.
Sibalji, is it possible to share with us some more details about Akash 2? How many numbers you are looking at and what is the schedule?
At the moment, we are actually going to the cabinet. We're formulating the cabinet note for the manufacture of 5 million Akash without any financial burden on the Ministry of Finance.
How many manufacturing?
Through our own resources, which are allocated for something else, redeployment of those resources. But if it's possible for me, I would like to manufacture 11 million Akash by December 2013.
Sir, 2 questions related to electronics.
हो गया यार, बहुत हो गया.
Sir, electronics and post.
नीलम, इसको
We'll take the final question.
Final
You
question.
mentioned that one element of national electronic policy is left, which is that element. And second thing, you talked about semiconductor fabs. What is the status of the semiconductor
Well, it's
fabs?
moving ahead very quickly. We are also, there is a special committee which is responsible for it. Sam and Nandan are members of that committee. They are, in fact, negotiating, and they have already, they are looking at some key players to collaborate with. I think decisions should soon be taken on that issue. On the last element of the electronics policy, the Secretary will respond. This said in the last, 1 second.
Yeah, there is the overarching electronics policy which binds together all the, all the elements. and also touches upon the human resource development that is required, and the focus on research and development, and so many other components. So the overarching policy document is what is to be approved yet. Okay.
With that, friends, we come to the end of this session. I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for being with us, and thank you all for a very lively discussion.